they stay there, and they say yeah, and they stay there. Cause all I do is win, win, win. And if you going in, put your hands in the air, make them stay there.
Ludacris going in on the verse, cause I never been defeated and I won't stop now. Keep your hands up, get them in the sky for the homies that ain't making it, my folks locked down. I never went nowhere.
Alright, we're here at Dillon O'Carroll. We're going to go play football at Brown next year. Now, you've been a 4-year starter. Tell me how you have evolved into the player you are today over those 4 years.
Well, my freshman year, they kind of just stuck me in there. Coach Factor, the offensive coordinator, just stuck me in there and said, listen, you're going to be playing on varsity, and I expect you to act like a varsity player. I don't care how old you are. So that didn't work out so well. I was 14 years old playing against people that were going to like Kansas State and USC and big time defensive tackles in my second and third game of high school. And I was playing right guard, and I started for the first 5 games, and then they kind of moved some people around and I became a utility player. But I did play a lot of varsity. I started my first five weeks, and then towards the rest of the 6 weeks I was a utility player. And then sophomore year I was a guaranteed starter. We dropped down to 5A. I played, I was consistent, I was stable, I was very good, I was a leader. And then they put me on defense, and towards the last 4 weeks of the year I was playing offense and defense every snap, and that was a different experience, because they wanted me to play defense since day one, but they just didn't know if I had the wing to do it, to play offense and defense wing, so much, and having to do that every play. And then junior year, they wanted, towards the end of my junior year, they just had me on offense only. That's because some people stepped up on defense, and they needed me on offense more than they needed me on defense. The senior year, there was no doubt in anyone's mind that I was going to have to carry the team, be a leader on offense and defense. And towards the end of the season, defensive-wise, there wasn't too many teams that could stop me. And they had trouble dealing with the fact that I was playing the zero technique, that nose guard, and they had the state player of the year right next to me in Derek. And
that's a lethal combination.
Yeah, but also you had Humpty William Wayne right next on my right side, and he could start for any team in the state. And it was really, who are you gonna try to block? If you have the state player of the year to my left, my job became easier because all I had to do was explode into the center, push the pocket back, and the guys on my right would make the tackles.
All Hornet fans would agree this has been one of the best defensive lines in recent years for the school.
Yeah, I think dating back to '84, they had a great defensive line back then when they won state championship. But this defensive line is definitely special because it was just 3 guys. Towards the last 6-7 games of the year, just 3 guys that stayed in there every play. They didn't get none of us got taken out. And each night you didn't know who was going to have a big game. There was games where I would have, against Deer Creek, I had 14 tackles and 3 sacks. In the very next game, Derek comes back and he has, 15 tackles.
Try to stop one of you guys, another one's going to step up, and I think that was the key this year on defense, and why you guys had so many shutouts. Now, what many people don't know is that you played with your brother, and so tell me a little bit about that and how playing with him was.
Well, my freshman year, my brother Connor was a senior, and that was definitely special, but it had so many advantages because he actually did take care of me. He didn't have to be nice to me all the time, but he did take care of me that I never wanted for anything, and when we were playing, he was definitely looking out for me, which was nice. And he would push me to be better because he would always say, "They don't invite your size of being All-American."
Right.
And he'd always be there to push me. And there was times, actually, a story. My brother actually kicked me out of the car and made me walk home several times after practice because didn't think that I performed well.
Now tell me how you were able to rebound and cope with going from a state championship in '08 to not even being able to make the playoffs because of scale to being again a state champion. Tell me how you were able to handle that.
Well,
because that's a lot to handle for a football player on a state championship caliber team.
when they took away those 3 games and we weren't allowed to go into the playoffs, the thing that I thought about most was, had we beaten Bishop Kelly, we would have been in playoffs. There would have been no doubt about it, and we could have made a state run. We probably would have made a state run. When I think about that season, I only think about the Bishop Kelly game, not so much, because those other games, I mean, had we not lost to Bishop Kelly, we would have been in the playoffs.
Right.
Now, if you can give us back those 3 games, we probably make a state run and go 8-2. But I feel bad for those seniors because those guys, you know, they were a great group of guys, and they didn't get a chance to defend their state championship, and it wasn't their fault. The only thing I could do really in the next year was focused on beating everybody. I mean, everybody wanted to see us fall, and my dad told me a long time ago that the best revenge is living well. Well, we lived well at other people's expense.
Right.
Like we scored a lot of points, and other people just they just got beat.
And you stepped up as a leader this year on offense and defense. So tell me tell me what was the defining moment for yourself and the team this year. At what point in the season did you really think, you know, we could win a state championship, or everything's clicking and we're one of the best teams in the state?
Well, when we came out week 1 against Carlisle, it was a fantastic football team, and we eked by with a win. We realized that wasn't good enough, and then we came back and we played East Central, and we eked out with a win, and we realized if we keep playing like this, someone's going to get us.
Right.
And we knew we had a talent. Like the talent part was never an issue. We just knew that we had to start practicing better.
Right.
We were having practices that were kind of nonchalant. Like, I don't know if this was a hangover from last year, from having to deal with all that drama and that whole situation where we just kind of went out and practice was not a big deal. But the coaches got the seniors together and they said, "This is terrible. You guys practice like crap." We came together and we said the practices are going to be more intense, and they became more intense. And the moment when we realized as a team that no one can stop us was a district championship against McAllister, because everybody was saying that McAllister could beat us, that if we were going to fall, it was going to be at McAllister.
You guys were both undefeated.
Yeah, it was both undefeated in district, and we came out and we scored 21 points, and we jumped up on them 21-0, and I think we won that game just like 52 to 21 or something like that.
Yeah. This year is a new coach, Coach Hall. Tell me a little bit about Coach Hall, about his arrival to this program that's full of tradition and championships.
Well, Coach Hall came after Jimerson left. Now, the two are very similar, but yet very different. They both have similar mannerisms, and they both sound the same, and they both carry themselves the same, like the way they're out on the football field. But Coach Jimerson was more of a defensive strategist. He was a genius as a defensive coordinator, and as a head coach drawing up things, he was really good at that. When it came to being personal with the players, he needed to work on some things. Coach Hall's not big on strategy. He's more of a motivator, but he keeps a tight ship. I mean, everything's going to be this at 7 o'clock, this at 8 o'clock. Everything's right on time, moving along, and he expects your best. And he's not afraid of telling you that he expects your best, and he pounds that into you, and he pounds all of those things that he wants you to do into you, and you kind of want to play hard for him, because he's the type of person that I'll see him in the hallways, and he'll come up to me and he'll say, "Oh, Carroll," and he'll come up and shake my hand and give me a hug and things like that. He's one of those guys that you kind of want to play for. And not saying I didn't want to play for Jimerson, because I did, But Jimerson went about it in a different way
Right.
than Coach Hall does.
Right.
And they're both, you know, they both won, so.
Right. Yeah. So now tell me what schools offered you scholarships to go play football for them, whether it was D1, D2, etc.
Dartmouth, Brown, TU offered me preferred walk-on, and then when I get a scholarship next year. And that's it. And Penn a little bit.
Now tell me, why did you choose Brown?
When I started looking at schools in my sophomore year, I was looking at like places like KU and Texas Tech, and they seemed to be kind of interested in me. And I went to like Arkansas camp, and I did well at the camps, but it was going into my senior year, and I was thinking I'm not really getting any major Division I attention, and then I figured that was because of my height. So I started looking at Ivy League schools because my dad kind of pointed me in that direction and said you need to start looking, you know, to get an education. And my goal was always to use football as a way of getting a college education. I mean, and so I can keep playing football.
Right.
And I went to Dartmouth's football camp, and I did well there. And then the next day I went down to Brown in Providence, and I did really well there. The first half of the camp they did individuals, and I didn't do so well in the individuals because I don't know what it was. It was hot that morning, and I just came from Dartmouth. I'm not trying to make excuses, but I did terrible, and I was really disappointed in my effort. But we didn't hit anybody. Like we didn't do any like one-on-ones or anything like that. And so in the second session, I just, you know, there were some times where I just was completely dominant. And when we were doing run one-on-ones and pass one-on-ones, and the coaches talked to me, and they seemed genuine. Like I had done that at other camps,
Right.
but when they talked to me, they talked to me like they really wanted me, and they seemed genuine, and they were, you know, the coach was like real personal with me, and I was like, you know, even though Brown didn't have the best facilities in the Ivy League or any of all that, because I went to Penn, they got really nice facilities and things like that. The coaches seemed like they wanted me there.
Now tell everyone what you'll be doing next year on and off the field, as you know, whether you'll be playing and at what position stuff, and what you'll be majoring in.
Well, I will be playing defensive line for Brown, and they have a 4-4 or 4-3 system, and so I'll be playing a 2 technique or a 3 technique. I have goals that I want to accomplish there on the football field, and they start with my freshman year. I'm working hard to get to those goals. Off the field, on my studies, I want to do political science. I feel like I can do politics well.
Right.
You know, I like politics, but I'm going to take advantage of everything Brown has to offer. My goal is to play professionally, you know, whether it's the CFL or the AFL or the NFL. I want to get paid for what I want to do, and I feel like Brown can help me do that.
And you think you'll be starting next year or something?
I have no.
Okay. Well, thanks a lot, Dillon, and we'll see you at Brown.
Thank you.
All I do is win, 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 no matter what.